Yeah, it sort of removes the ownership of it. So like a Buddhist could be Christian because Buddhism doesn't exclude Christianity from itself. But a
Right.
Christian can't be Buddhist because the Christian religion excludes Buddhism from itself. You
Right.
can't believe in the Buddhist teachings of reincarnation and also believe in an eternal soul that is one individual, unique thing.
Without
So
some
Buddhism is the
fantastic mental
open,
gymnastics.
yeah, Buddhism sort of like the open, inclusive idea, the ideal of the supernatural, or what we would call supernatural, but what Buddhists would call the only natural. So everything else is subnatural.
Mhm.
Like the most natural condition for a human being is to be like curious and thoughtful and pensive and loving and angry and violent and
Human.
all of the things part of our nature, right?
Yeah.
The endeavor that we can impose our will and volition into the world, that component of it, and figuring out which way to point that energy and direction is entirely up to us to decide to do. It's things we can choose. And the choice of things is separate from the nature of things because we can choose to disobey our nature.
Right.
People can choose to suicide, but it's not natural to prematurely die intentionally.
Uh, maybe.
Well, maybe I'm saying simplistically, just the idea of what we're talking about is what I'm getting at.
Right. It's a
The fact that we can make choices and other things can't, like rocks can't choose, planets can't choose, water can't choose.
right. So
That is sort of what we would consider supernatural, but that's entirely natural for a stream of consciousness that everything derives from. What I'm talking about with respect to nature and choice is the reason for Buddhism is our choice. That's sort of what I'm getting at. It's not that it's natural or unnatural, but the fact that when I say natural, it means that you could not do otherwise. Whereas
yes.
we can do otherwise, and that's the reason we need to think, and that's the purpose for Buddhism.
Right. So
So
okay, I see a
the
distinction.
dharmas and the chakras and the six-spoke wheel and like the noble truths and stuff, those are guides and directions for people who need some sort of symbols to attach the concepts to. The
Right.
concept of having volition itself is hard to grasp without physical tangible objects that we can think of and move around and place in our stage of the world. So to make that a little bit clearer, it's like an ant is very altruistic. It'll sacrifice itself to build a bridge so that other ants can cross it and transport food.
Right.
But an ant isn't altruistic because of its nature. It does that because that's what it does. It doesn't choose to do that. So even though it exhibits actions of altruism and signs and symbols of it, it is not the same thing as us choosing to believe one thing over another without proof or regard.
Right. Some that was taken down by people who have taken the time to think about it and find their paths um, are almost signposts. Try this, do this. Here's something that I did. Here's something that you can find your own truth. And a lot of them are geared towards not you learning, like you go into class and you learn this thing. No, try this, experience that eureka moment of the flash of wisdom, and you'll find that it's not just from study, it's also from quiet contemplation. It's shower thoughts and traffic musings and watching the birds fly, as well as deep study that you get this from. And we all come to it in different paths at different rates and at different times, which is
I think
sorry, go on.
that's a really deep way of putting it too, because I think part of the way that we miss the mark when we're thinking about philosophy and philosophical treatises or inquiries of thought is the framing. Like right from the onset, you're framing enlightenment as some goal to attain,
Yeah,
but that's a
without defining.
desire, and
Yeah.
Buddhism is a freedom of desire. So as soon as you want to attain freedom of desire, that's recursive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like you have to you want to walk that road, but you don't ever want to get to the end because there is no end. As soon as you think that you know where the end is or where you're going, you've gone off path. That's a red flag.
Can we
You're
talk
not.
about desire a bit? Because that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's fundamental to Buddhism, like the freedom from suffering and desire.
Right. Because you see
But
that in a lot.
the want to be free of desire is also a desire.
Right.
It is itself, and that's why Buddhism's usually taught as what it's not. Like the Tao Te Ching is famously just a big long rant about what it isn't.
Yeah.
Which is what I love so much about it.
Yeah, I like assigning it and watching brains just kind of go